I'm Ellie from the Dark Imp, helping parents reclaim family time by playing board games together. So today I just want to talk to you about your games collection and how you can develop it so that you can make sure you've got different games for different situations. And I think when you're playing board games as a family and you're trying to get your family interested in games, that can be a really an important factor. You may have centred your board game collection around one particular type of situation in which you normally play games, and therefore you might be missing out on all the other games you might play in other situations. So for me, it's about having a really good range of different games so that whatever situation we're in, there's a game that we can play. That's how we might end up as a family playing games more than possibly other families. Okay. So let's have a little look at some different kinds of games that might work in different situations. So we'll start with really small ones. These are actually Dark Imp coaster games. There's 6 of these. These are 2 of them. This one's Letter Market and this one's Sleuth Box. They're games on a coaster. They are so portable that you can shove them in your bag or in the glove compartment of the car. And if you are in a if you're waiting for something, if you're waiting for somebody, if you're in a restaurant and you haven't got anything else to do, I mean, they're so light, they just come out, bung them on the table and play the game. Some of them need pencil and paper, some of them don't. So you can shove these in your car and play when you're on the move. Other games I like to have, so I always have games in the car because as a family I often find we're sitting around waiting. Either I'm waiting on my own or more often possibly waiting with one of my children for another of my children, and that's a moment at which we may be tempted to each get out our phones and do something on our own on our phone. So I like to have games that are quick and easy and that can be played very easily in the space you have in the car. Roll and write games are particularly good for this because all you really need is to roll some dice in the lid of a box and that can go somewhere in the car, and then everybody has their own score sheet. This one actually comes with cards. This is called Quinto, but there are any number of these roll and write games which are quite quick, quite easy. I mean, this is going to play in 10 minutes. You might get multiple games. If you have to stop halfway through, it doesn't really matter, particularly with the dice games, because you're in the middle of a throw. You know, it's like a Yahtzee type thing. Okay, then I'm looking for games that can be played with just 2 players, because often one other member of the family will be at a bit of a loose end and I want to do something with them. Now, you know, some of the many games are great for they go from 2 to 4 players, and some of them work really well with 2. But I have a bit of a soft spot for 2-player games. There are some great ones there, and they've been designed for that 2-player experience, and they're always going to be just a little bit the play between those 2 players is going to be a little bit better when it's designed for 2 players. So this one's called Lost Cities. This is an excellent game. It's very simple to learn. It plays quite quickly, but the decisions you have to make are so difficult. It's really about card management. Also, you could look at 7 Wonders Duel, which is a great 2-player game, slightly more complicated, needs a bit more space and a little bit more explanation. And one of my favourites at the moment is Paris Cité de la Lumière, which is a great tile placement 2-player game which I really love as well. So make sure you've got a few 2-player games around. Then there are games which work really well with more players. So you might have some friends that drop round that are, you don't want to get a whole big board game set up with loads of components. What you're looking for is something that you can get out quickly, explain very quickly, and get people that don't normally play games playing with you. You know, if you can get uncle and auntie or the kids' friends playing, if they're just sort of in between, if they want to play video games more and you want to get them off the video games more and doing things together, this sort of thing's really good. Very quick and easy to explain. This is Skull. It's a bluffing game. It's sort of on coaster type, beer mat type things. Each person has a stack, and you're trying to guess what decisions other people have made, and you're trying to catch people out. So it's a bluffing game. Skull works really well, but there are lots of others that are these sort of more social games. There are some good social deduction games like Werewolf that are quite easy to explain, that work with more people. Then, of course, there's family game night. Now, family game night should really be a game that you look forward to playing. Possibly the components are exciting, or it's got something about it, some sort of atmosphere created by it, or something really different and unusual. Well, family game night, I'm looking for games that have a presence on the table. Because the family game night is something of a ritual, something to look forward to and something to look back on. So, for example, Gizmos is a great engine building game with lots of different coloured marbles and this huge sort of marble holder, which all the marbles go in at the top, and then they come out in a little channel at the bottom, and it shows, I think, 6 at a time. So when you take one from there, which you're able to do, then another one will drop in its place. And this sort of mechanism with these beautiful marbles that are kind of see-through in 4 different colours, this is a really nice game. So that's Gizmos is an example of that, or indeed something like Planet, where each player has their board is a dodecahedron, so a 12-sided, each face is pentagonal, a solid object, and each of those faces is magnetic. So the tiles are magnetic, and you're drafting tiles to create your planet, which is 3D. Now this is a lovely thing, and something that is really captivating and very tactile, and will make a family games night to remember. So I'm looking for games like that for my family games nights. Then I also like to have some very light-hearted games that are dexterity games are great if you don't want to do too much thinking, or indeed if you just want to watch Granny fail miserably and not be able to balance things on top of each other. So some light-hearted fun. This is Meeple Circus, but you always want those things where you don't really want to really strategically think about what your moves are. You just want to have a bit of fun. And so I think there's always a time and a place for that sort of game. Meeple Circus, you've got your own circus and you're balancing components on one another, and there's a brilliant app that comes with it which has got a soundtrack that you have to finish your rehearsal or your act by the time that the music runs out. It's absolutely brilliant. Really nice little game, Meeple Circus. Then of course there's the situation where people are sleepy, you want to snuggle up on the sofa, but you don't want to watch a film, or you don't want to do something on a screen. And so snuggling up on the sofa with your children, you could do some sort of RPG, role-playing game. Legacy of Dragonholt is a good one for children because there's no sort of formal games master. You don't have to do a lot of preparation or any preparation before you start. With some RPGs, the games master has to prepare a lot in advance so they can lead you through the story. This one is led through by the books that come with it, and you're going to create your character, and it's a bit like reading a story every night to your children. It's very narrative, and you are reading the story, but your character's within the story, and you get to make decisions within the story, and you get to develop those characters, and you keep track of your story points and how your character develops. This is a really good one, takes a long time to play. You do it in stages, in episodes, Legacy of Dragonholt. And there's other ones that work similarly. And then I always want a few games that if you've got a rainy afternoon and the whole family is sitting around, nobody really knows what to do, and you just want to get them involved in something that might take a while, then you might like to look at a bigger game that takes longer. One of the games we often play is Terraforming Mars. It's good for slightly older teenagers. Mine have been playing it since they were about 10, but they do play a lot of games. And it's the rules are more difficult to to get in the first place, but it's got so much replayability. But those games all last 2.5 hours. There are other kind of heavier games that will take longer as well. Or you can get a game like so Catan is quite a well-known game. This is Catan Seafarers, which is an expansion to that, and this comes with lots of different setups for different games. It's sort of a campaign game, so you can start at the beginning, do campaign 1 and set up the islands as it suggests in the book, play through that game that might take 45 minutes and then reset it, do a different campaign and keep going. Also legacy games like Pandemic Legacy or Clank Legacy, where you're developing the board and the cards turn by turn. Those are great for a really long afternoon. You might play several games in the go. So have a think about how you're going to expand your games collection to make sure you've got games for different moments. You know, what game are you going to play when you're just standing up at the kitchen surface waiting for the microwave to go ping? You know, what game are you going to play when you've got 20 minutes with one child in the house before you're going to rush off and do something else? What are you going to play in the 5 minutes or the half an hour before bed? Have a think about these things, develop your games collection, make sure you've got a lot of different kinds of games, and you'll be playing more often.